What is up, everybody? Welcome back to yet another live stream. My name's Lewis, also known as MrCameraJunkie, where I remind you to upgrade your skills before your gear. If it is your first time here, welcome. Make sure you introduce yourself in the chat so that you can get the welcome from the Camera Junkie crew. And with that being said, this is episode number 66. That's 66 consecutive weeks of the Camera Junkie live stream, and I always thank you for joining me here live as we do this every Saturday night at Club Camera Junkie. And with that being said, first thing that I always do is say hello to the Camera Junkie. So let's see who's here in chat. Right off the bat, we have Dr. Elo saying Wepa, Tom Buck waving hello, and Paul Dunkey letting everyone know that if you're watching this stream and it causes a certain burst of gas, meaning gear acquisition syndrome, as long as your credit cards are out of reach, it will pass. And that's great, man. You know what? Let me finish setting things up here. I forgot to get my iPad going so that I can blow the air horns whenever it's necessary. Let me know if the music is okay, if it's too loud. I'm working the music now through Ecamm, and I have it, I believe, at like 5%. And it's still seeming to be substantial, but just let me know if it's still too loud. Try to bring it down even more. But it sounds like it's just got a nice music bed going on there. So even Dr. Elo's laughing at what Paul is saying. He's saying hello to Paul and Tom. The same thing. Scott Rogers is in the house saying hello to the crew. We got Caleb as well. He's saying neat music. The intro song, right? Right now I'm trying to see how I'm going to figure out the music. I'm trying to work the music through Ecamm for this main reason. I'm trying to see about repurposing the live streams, and this way the recording that I get into my computer will have the music completely separated from the audio, so I can get the entire live stream with just my audio, able to chop it up, edit it without having to notice the differences in the music, and then able to throw even a completely different music music bed onto the new recorded video. And all that could be done through the power of Ecamm, which is what I use to run this live stream. So if you didn't know, there is a link in the description as well where you can get a 14-day free trial. And just so that you know, if you sign up with the code MCJ at checkout, you'll get your first 30 days free. So you didn't hear that from me, but you did. So we're gonna continue. India Delgado is in the house. What is up? A pleasure to have you here. Now you know where the party's at. This is the Cool Kids Club. Absolutely. This is Club Camera Junkie, where we keep everything chilling, we learn, we have fun, and we hang out. Talking about that, let me put my... Is it coming up? I'm not sure it is. Let's see. Boop, boop, boop. Let's set all of this up. There we go. So now we're rocking with my buy me a coffee. So yeah, if you want to support me or in the channel, you could always buy me a coffee through the link down below. And here's a list of all of my awesome supporters who have bought me caffeine one way or another. I appreciate you all. I would have to say this stream straight up runs off caffeine, but we march on. Dr. Elo saying, "You're," you got that for me, "You're." And Paul says, yes, if you got a question for Lewis, remember, put a Q in front of the question. Your question should look like this. Otherwise, it's just chat, and we're going to get through it. But it makes it real easy for me to overlook at the end of the stream. I make sure that I search for all of the Q colons. That allows me to make sure that your questions do not get overlooked. And yes, India is in the house. Okay, so everybody's saying hi. Caleb's saying "Yer is the best hashtag ever." Randall is also in the house, in the Club Camera Junkie, saying 66 episodes. Yeah, actually more than 66 episodes, and that's the whole thing. Awesome that you brought it up, India, because it's like episode 90 something, and I'm getting very, very close. Excuse me, do I have something on my mustache? Yes, I did. Oh, sorry for that. I'm growing out my mustache. I'm trying something new. I'm really going through it. I gave it this month of not trimming my mustache, and I'm trying to see if I can get it to a point similar to my beard where I don't have to really maintenance it. But it's getting on my last nerve. But I digress. Yes, 66 episodes, but that is 66 consecutive weeks. So that's 66 consecutive weeks, and then I did the 30 days in December. So in total, I am getting very, very close. So within a month or so, we would have reached 100 episodes of live streams on the channel, which is a big milestone. 100 episodes in anything, even a television show, is a big milestone. So I want to make sure that I celebrate that and give it its it's time to bask in that accomplishment just a little bit. So that one's coming up soon, but 66 weeks consecutive. And yeah, I gotta really look it up, because now that I'm thinking about it, there was a couple of but we're really getting close. Okay, so Randall saying okay, I turned off the sync delay at all, so I'm thinking through audio hijack there might have been. Let me know if this looks better, Randall. I'll keep an eye out for it. Thank you for letting me know. And India was saying the same thing, that it was off, so hopefully I got that taken care of. Gregory is here saying what's up. Look, Gregory, listen to me. Gary. I read Gary and greetings, and for some reason the whole thing came out Gregory. Says, I'm usually in bed by this time, pero I'm chilling with y'all tonight. Says India. There's Paul dropping the buy me a coffee. Sammy Superstars in the house. No keto, caffeine. Yeah, caffeino diet. That's what I'm on. It says 60 more days. What is this about 60 more days? I gotta take a look at that. Oh, for the mustache. No, I gave it 30 days, right? And I don't know about 60, bro. It is. I'm trying to do everything in my power to literally not have my hands on my face. But like I said, I digress. All right, so Paul says better, so hopefully the audio sync. What I'm thinking is that the 4 frames of delay that you would normally get or need for Sony cameras is not needed when you're bypassing it through audio hijack, because it's going to give you those 4 milliseconds of delay automatically, and it seems to run better if you're using them together. So just a little bit of information. Mario is here as well, saying hello to me and to friends. But with that, we've caught up, and let's get right into today's topic, which is this new Apple event. Now, why am I talking about this Apple event? Because I really feel that it is very particular to the creator and the creator economy, which is what we're doing here. Whether you're a photographer, videographer, YouTuber, TikToker, whatever it is that you're doing, you're using a computer. And even the iPhones and people who majorly use and create all of their content on their iPhones will still have a method of looking to upgrade when it comes to editing the footage and the videos that they're creating on it. Now, for me in particular, these machines, or the Apple ecosystem, is at the heart of everything that I do. If we look at just my live stream here, I run it off of my Mac M1 Mini. My music runs off of an iPhone. My sound effects run off of an iPad. Right? There we go. I think I have it a little low. Yeah, there we go. And I have this entire ecosystem, whether that it's that I'm creating a thumbnail and I'm using AirDrop within my computer to my phone, it all works in together. So whether it's computers that you're looking for or looking forward to, or it's just something as simple as an iPad or an iPhone that you use to create your content, this Apple event right now coming up within 3 days on the 8th of March pretty much is going to cater to everyone. Now, some of the things that we are kind of like less rumored, that are more concrete, that we are literally expecting to see at this event to be announced, is an upgrade to the new or to the iPhone SE. The iPhone SE is the entry-level iPhone, and the last model that they have is on the A14 Bionic chip, which is a couple of years old off of the iPhone 12 model. It's gonna look exactly the same, and when I say exactly the same, I literally mean exactly the same. Let me bring out a couple of the phones that I have here to show you. This is an iPhone 7, okay? And this iPhone 7 is pretty much a mirror image of what you would expect out of the iPhone 8, which is the same body that they decided to use for the iPhone SE. This right here is an iPhone 6S, and as you can see, styles and sizes really haven't changed. The things that upgraded from this one to this one literally is the camera. As you can see there, a substantial difference in size, physically and then optically as well. The iPhone 8 got a little bit of a camera upgrade as well, and it looks like the new SE is finally gonna get an even better upgrade. So things that we can expect from the iPhone SE is the new 12 megapixel camera, maybe as far as just the bigger size, better optics on the rear side of the SE. It's going to have 5G capabilities, so it's going to be upgraded, and that is possible because it's upgraded the chip that is in it, which is the A15 Bionic. So the A15 Bionic, people are saying like the biggest flaw to this model of iPhone is the form factor. Oh, the Marine X, I appreciate the coffee, sir. That means a lot to me. That it always leaves me speechless. Thank you so very much. So the A15 Bionic chip is what I think is going to allow this phone to still be even a little bit better when it comes to battery life. If they were able to change the internals and compress it to just even give the expansion for a bit of a wider battery, then that would also increase the battery life. Also, the fact that it has the new processor with this new like 4 nanometer technology also consumes less electricity. So I'm guessing that these are the reasons why they haven't really changed the form factor of the SE. The other reason why I'm thinking that they stuck with it is because a lot of people have been having issues with Face ID with their masks. Now, even though they're rolling out a new feature that works with your mask on the iOS 15, I still believe there's some people who just love the fact that even if they're wearing a mask, they're able to hit, a fingerprint sensor and unlock their phone and get right into it. One of the things that I really like about these smaller phones myself is that they give you the ability to use them with one hand. I have the the iPhone 11 Pro Max, and even I struggle sometimes to utilize the entire phone. And for me to do so, it requires me to use both my hands when, sometimes I just want it to work with one, but my thumb literally just isn't long enough for that phone. So there's always give and take. This is almost like a given that we're gonna see in this event. The next given, so to speak, and I say so to speak because at the end of the day, bottom line, this is speculation, because until it's announced, it's still all up in the air. They could have things that are completely ready and just decide not to show them because they don't want to produce them at the moment. But I digress. Another thing that we should be seeing, or that we're expecting to see, is the upgraded to the iPad Air, or be the iPad Air 5. This is also going to get similar upgrades. It's going to go from the A14 to the A15 Bionic chip, which should improve in battery life. It should go from the base 64 gigabytes model as the base model to 128 gigs. It should have the improved face camera from 7 megapixels to 12 megapixels, which will actually give the ability to do their most I would say requested or most utilized feature of the iPads, which is center stage. That's the feature where you're using the iPad to make a FaceTime call, and it will crop into you using the wide camera, so that if you were to move, it's almost like a cameraman is following you around in your scene while you're hosting these the FaceTime calls. So that is what this center stage is called. But besides that, the iPhone SE, this new 2022 version that should be coming out, and the new iPad Air Generation 5 will look exactly the same as their predecessors, which really haven't changed a lot since even the iPhone 6. With that being said, now we're going to be moving into a little bit of like the unknown, the what we're hoping for, right? So if you're a creator that uses the phone and the iPad, that's where this event should interest you, to see what are the prices of these new designs going to be. Because right now, even the iPad mini, the new one that just came out, has more features than the iPad Air currently has on their lineup. That's why it's almost like a given that we're going to see these updates to the iPad, just to keep them up to par with the rest of their lineup. Apple has actually registered 3 computers with this European Federation, and that's kind of how we start getting wind of what Apple is doing. Besides that, it's all hush hush, but because Apple sells electronics in Europe, there is a commission there that requires all electronics that use encryption to be registered before they're able to be sold. So Apple also has to comply with these rules, and when they register their computers to do so, that handles encrypted information. That's when we first start getting wind of what Apple is doing. And it was weeks ago when Apple registered 3 new computers, and one of them listed as a mobile personal computer. So out of the 3 computers that we are expecting to see, one of them is going to be a laptop. So let's just, put a pin on that. And then other one are going to be non-mobile units. They're going to be registered like whether it's a Mac Mini or a Mac Pro or even an iMac, because that's not considered a mobile unit. That's right. Paul says, don't forget to hit that like button. So if you're here and you're having fun so far, make sure to do so. It's free and it really goes a long way. So make sure to hit that like button. I appreciate that. So now, 3 computers were registered. One of them is a laptop and 2 of them are not. So we're going to continue. What I am hoping for, which is fingers crossed, if this comes out, I am the happiest camper, right? I am currently using the Mac Mini Base Edition, M1 8 GB base model, and I was speaking with Tom Buck not too long ago about getting my upgrade. He got the MacBook Pro with the Pro chip, 24 core. He probably got one of the best ones when it comes to functionality, battery life, rendering. He did an excellent job just out of the whim. But I was thinking that I might be looking into upgrading my MacBook, because I have my MacBook here that I use for photography mostly. But if I can invest in something and get these new, the mini LED HDR displays with 120 hertz, refresh, and get the latest and greatest, and get a Pro chip, something that will more than handle the workload that I'm using with my Mac Mini currently, I can still utilize that laptop, connect my screens to it, my external screens, and have it as like a desktop unit as well as my laptop. But now we have what I'm hoping to come out, which is the Mac Mini Pro. So last year when they introduced, well, not last year, but the year before, 2020 at the end, when they introduced this Mac Mini base model, this one kind of replaced the base model or the entry-level model for the Intel Silicon that they had. So basically swap one for one. They left this one on the shelves, but their high-end Pro Mac Mini, right? Their Mac Mini Pro version was still based on Intel chipsets, Intel Silicon, so on and so forth. What I'm hoping now is that now they're going to replace their high-end Intel machine with a high-end Apple machine. What's rumored out there is a new Mac Mini chassis that's smaller, thinner, and that has a glass top. Why would it have a glass top? The same reason why the iPhone has a glass back. Wireless charging has a fundamental problem if you're using an aluminum case. It's a Faraday cage, and the signal that you need to send back and forth wirelessly to charge the phone cannot be sent through the metal. That's why they put a glass back, so that it has no resistance in transmitting the electricity wirelessly to charge and uncharge your phone, so to speak, or recharge other phones. This is the same thing that they're implementing to the new Mac Mini design, for the reason that it is a small little Faraday cage, the Mac Mini, and it's always given a problems with Bluetooth, wireless connectivity, so on and so forth, because of the design. Apple had not changed the design aspect of it at all until, well, what we're hoping for would be now to give it that extra functionality, to give it, better connectivity to your peripherals that are on it. Another thing about it is that it's also expected to have an external power supply, or the external power brick that we see on the latest version of the iMac, the all-in-one Apple computer, where the entire brick is left outside and has all of the functionality there. So it just has a simple connection to the back, keeping everything extra thin. Meaning, if they want to go to the aesthetic of trying to make this new Mac Mini as small as possible, they would have removed it out, and put it externally. If you're familiar with that external power brick from the iMac, you also know that there's a version with it that has the gigabit and the 10 gigabit LAN connected as part of the power brick, meaning you don't have to add another LAN cable, bringing more cables up into your desktop, space, and giving you the power of Ethernet or Ethernet. Once you have that set up, if you use that same exact part, that eliminates the Ethernet from the back of the Mac Mini, the new version, and also makes it smaller because of the power supply. two birds, one stone. And if you're using the same exact part, you don't have to remanufacture another part. Thinking large scale as Apple, that the same part that you would use to replace on an iMac, you can use it for the new Mac Mini series. So that's something that rumored and that we're hoping. And the biggest thing is the chipset. We're hoping that this new Mac Mini Pro is not in the M1 platform, but in the M1 Pro and the M1 Max. Putting that chip, right, the Pro chip or the Max chip, in a thermal envelope that can handle all the heat that chip can produce, gives you the ability to, in computer terms, overclock it, try to maximize the most that you can out of it. So that is what is going to give it like the most the most bang for your buck, because you're able to hopefully get these chips with all of this power without having the extra cost of the backlight HDR LED LCD that you would find on a MacBook Pro laptop. I still might lean towards purchasing it with the LCD, because I might have like that same mentality of two birds with one stone. But that's why I'm paying so much attention to what's actually going to be unveiled in a couple of days, because I'm going to have options to see where it is that I want to go. There's going to be so much more room for expansion as far as ports goes, because if you're dealing with previously two Thunderbolt 4 ports, and two USB-A, if you're able to remove all of that I/O like that I just spoke about, and including the power supply, and remove that externally off of the system, then that should give you the ability to expand the I/O that's there. I would say looking at minimum of 4 Thunderbolt 4 ports, because I believe that's what the Mac Mini Pro has right now, the Intel, except it's on the older chipset. And also has like 2 USB-A ports and an HDMI. The big thing is the USB bus headers to be able to control like monitors. And the Mac Mini, as the way that it's set right now, is said that it could only connect to external devices. Doc Rock has shown that he's connected 3 and even more, and that's possible. So I don't see it being a problem with that, but if you give it the proper bus information so that it can channel all of the data correctly, it shouldn't have a problem connecting 2 or maybe 3 4K and 6K displays onto this system, which will really make it viable. 8 headphone jack, and that's pretty much the speculation and what we have rumored that will be the biggest changes. But with the Max Pro, or let me correct myself, with the MacBook Pro chip and the MacBook Max chip applied in the Mac Mini setup, you're also going to be able to expand the RAM from 32 to 64 gigs on this Mac Mini, and have it the SSD expandable up to 8 terabytes, which are the same types of features that are available on the MacBook Pro laptops currently. So basically a MacBook Pro laptop with the Pro chip, the Max chip, without the display. I'm not sure if they would add the SD card slot, as far as the I/O and giving it space back there. That's really a toss-up. Nobody's really been talking about that, but if you can give me a Max or a Pro chip in a Mac Mini body, I think that's where I'm gonna be leaning, because you're talking about all of this crazy power, and you're gonna be talking about starting prices of like $1,200 to $1,400, and for the Max chip maybe like $1,600 to $1,800. And I don't even know, maybe even less. I think it'll be something like 12 for the Pro, maybe 14 for the Max chip in a small little system like that. I think that's a winner. Now, that's speculation about the computers. one of the things that I mentioned prior was that one of these for sure computers is a mobile computer, a personal laptop. And the laptop that is lacking the most right now in Apple's lineup is the MacBook Pro 13-inch, the M1 model. The M1 model only has 2 USB or Thunderbolt 4 ports on it with a headphone jack. The biggest issue with that is that it also is using those Thunderbolt ports for power as well. So the MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M1, where I think that they really dropped the ball, is the fact that you only really have one Thunderbolt 4 port if you're trying to use the computer traditionally, for the reason that you're constantly having to use one to power it up. Now, they have great battery life, but the fact that one of them has to be dedicated to power consumption is just sucks, because you're limiting your computer that's supposed to be a pro model to one IO, because the headphone jack is what? So that's the biggest complaint that everyone's had with this computer. This is the M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch, and it looks like Apple is gonna regurgitate everything on that body and maybe just upgrade the chip to the new M2 version. Now, the M2 version is up in the air as well. I'm guessing is gonna have a bump in, like efficiency cores, production cores, graphic cores, but it's going to be less than any of their Pro or their Max chipsets. But it is going to be a substantial upgrade from the M1, because the new Max version 2, right? The Max M2 or the Pro M2 chips that are coming are going to be based off of this new infrastructure. So there's also been rumors that are saying that there's up to 8 computers that are going to be announced. I don't think if 8 that they will all be announced on this event. Maybe within this next year, to bring everything up to par and effectively have removed Intel from this entire lineup, and just have M1, M2s, M1 Pros and Max chips available throughout their lineup, whether it's on an iPhone, iPad, Mac Mini, iMac, MacBook Pro, so on and so forth. So something that is in speculation is the new version of the M2 chip to be announced, and if so, then we could be seeing like a revamp of everything that we've seen prior, just with that chip. I really don't think that they're gonna go with another M2 Mac Mini, basically the same specs that we have right now, but with an upgraded processor. Maybe towards the end of the year, if they want to just completely eliminate the M1 and just move on with their newer, better chips. But if so, then we're probably going to see the same design out of like these 3 units, which would be the Mac Mini, the MacBook Pro, right, which is the 13-inch, and also the iMac. All of the M1 series computers that we have right now, excluding the laptops, the Pro and the Max chips, right, would have been upgraded to the M2 chips, meaning you're going to see the new Mac Mini M2, and they're going to be pretty much deadpan identical to what you're seeing right now, except they're going to have the updated chassis of this new Pro version with the glass top, and maybe hypothetically a variety of colors, the way that we saw the iMac all-in-one computers come out just not too long ago with the variety of colors. That's why people are speculating, especially with what Apple decided to name this event, the Peak Performance, and they actually wrote it out PEEK and I have a crazy idea of what that might mean. This is my shot in the dark, but we'll get to that in a little bit, because there's so much stuff. I'm just running through this, so hopefully you guys are still hanging there with me. So if we get an update to the chip, right, to the chipset itself from M1 to M2, even if it's incremental little tweaks that are better, I would see them replacing their lineup, or the M1 lineup, with the new colorful M2s. They would replace the MacBook Pro, and like we said, it's going to be exactly the same with just the new chip. And then also the same thing, the iMac all-in-one, same exact thing, colorful choices with the M2 chip, right? And that would pretty much be their lineup. Then you would have a step up, right? Because that would be the M2 SoC, the system on the chip. How I just mentioned now, right? Because this is all speculation. I'm going to share with you a couple of my far-fetched ideas of what Apple could have meant by peak performance. Because we hear peak performance and automatically our minds go to top performance, the best performance. But they literally wrote it PEEK, as like you're going to peak, as your vision, as what you're seeing. Another thing that they gave us for this event and this invitation is a little Apple logo that floats using your camera and using a technology that we've had at our disposal for a long time called augmented reality, where you can fix a ethereal image digitally into air, and through your camera be able to see it and interact with it through augmented reality. AR. Let me make sure I get my thoughts right. Okay. What can we expect from peak performance? Peak, if they were just using a wordplay and we're talking about max performance, we could be looking at the new version, or a unveiling, or just a hint, right? Like a peek, like a peekaboo into what they're actually developing in the future as far as their full-fledged pro computers. Now, the pro computer that I'm talking about is what has been referred to as the cheese grater, the full-on professional desktop tower computer that's modular. That's the big thing. It's modular. It gives you the ability to change hard drives and expand memory, whether it's internal RAM or hard drive capacity. It gives you options. So if they were to replace their Intel machine, their Intel Mac monster machine, that would be their peak performance. That would be their highest thing. And even if they don't unveil it as far as availability, they could just be giving us a peek at what they're going to be doing. They're talking about dual and quad die chipsets. So imagine an Apple M1 Max chip times 4. So that Max chip has 64 gigs of RAM with 30 graphics cores, 20 processing cores, so on and so forth. And it's what we have available now that's running away with everything computing, with all of the benchmarks. You're able to put two of them back to back and have them piggyback their workloads together. So from 64 you're jumping to 128 gigs of RAM, and you're going from 20 but to 40 processing cores, from 30 to 60 GPU graphics cores. Insane stuff. And the other thing is that when everything is like, it scales up with their new system. So if they're able to create a quad die, you're talking about a potential processing unit inside of a computer like the cheese grater that's gonna have 4 max dies, chips, processors, you know, maxing out at like 256 gigs of RAM, up to 16 terabytes of SSD onboard memory. The IO is gonna be like crazy. Imagine 8 Thunderbolt 4 ports. Like, it's just the IO, the expansion, the possibilities of what can be done with that computer. Just thinking of a quad die system on a chip, or SoC on a full-size computer that's gonna have the thermal envelope to cool anything. And that's the other thing. These new processors for Apple, they really run very cool, very little energy consumption, so it gives you that room or that headroom to mess with when you're doing your projects on these machines. So that is something that's just like crazy, out of this world, but that is more or less where Apple is headed with their chips. So if they meant they're gonna give us like a little peekaboo, they could have just been saying, hey, we're gonna give you a sneak peek of what we're coming up with later this year, and then show us what they are gonna have available. And that's the whole thing. Like, what will it have? Will it have expandable RAM memory? Will it have expandable like M.2 slots for, you know, like hard drive space for SSDs? Will it be completely modular? Because the way that these SoCs are built right now, you know, the RAM and everything is pretty much set in stone when you purchase it right off the bat. So if it is like that, okay, hold on. So if it is like that, and it is like, excuse me, that's not working. It really leaves a lot to be, you know, like up to wonder, right? Another thing that we could be thinking about in the future is throwing the Max chips and the Pro chips onto the all-in-one iMac system, which I would see them upgrading from a 24-inch iMac all-in-one unit to excuse me, to the 27-inch, and you'd probably see like an HDR display with the mini LED technology. So you're gonna have the like small dimming zones for the high dynamic range visuals that you'd be getting out of it. And then besides that, I literally think everything else will be the same. So I would think in my mind that it would be the same specs or like options that you have to configure a MacBook Pro chip laptop or a MacBook Pro Max chip laptop. Currently, both the 14 and the 16-inch are going to be the same like options that you're going to be able to find on the 27-inch iMac Pro. Now, that is pretty much it. I'm going to mention this last thing because this is something that this is my shot in the dark, right? And this is something that I have heard nobody mention, but I'm going to give you my far-fetched crazy idea. If I'm wrong, hey, most likely I'm wrong. We're all guessing here, right? But the thing that intrigued me, and let me hydrate real quick before I say this. Okay. Apple sends an invite for the March 8th event, and they name it Peak Performance. Peak, like I said, P-E-E-K, like you're sneaking a peek. But if you're sneaking a peek, that just stuck in my head that it had to do with visuals. The other bit of clue, right, that they gave us is a floating Apple in augmented reality, AR, which also has to do with visuals. What's up, Gil? Right? Also has to do with visuals. So now if it has to do with visuals and we're talking about peaking, eyesight, and they're giving us VR or AR, augmented reality. I'm just putting it out there. What if, right? What if Apple actually unveils a VR type system or an Apple glasses type system? Now, hear me out. I also recently got my hands on the Airpods 3rd generation. And the biggest thing about the iPod's 3rd generation, that the biggest selling point, right, is that it has this thing called spatial audio. I've tried it, and between you and me, it's cool, right? But not something that I'm going to use all day, every day, and I'm going to tell you why. Where are my AirPods? Okay. The AirPods spatial audio works like this. If I'm watching something on my phone, on my computer, and I have it connected and it's linking the spatial audio, if I were to move my head, it will retain the audio in that general direction. So let's say I put a video on with spatial audio to my right. When I'm facing it directly, I will get correct audio on both sides of my ear. As soon as I start tilting my head, it starts creating the ambiance, right, of everything moving, and now I start getting more audio in my right ear than on my left ear because I shifted my head. It's a cool feature. The bad part is that you're literally pumping more audio into the right ear than the left ear. So after a half an hour of me listening to spatial audio like this, right, and I'm typing away on my keyboard, when I start looking, at my battery life on my AirPods, my right ear is substantially more decreased in power than my left because of the difference in volume. So I will have like 50% left on my right ear and 75 on my left because of the power consumption. So it's almost like you're overclocking your right audio, and then the back one's lagging off, and the battery life is the biggest tell of the spatial audio. So even though it exists, I don't use it that much because when I'm using my audio, I want at least the battery life to be comparable and for them to start like going down together, so that when I need to recharge them, I like to recharge them together, not have to recharge my right ear a half an hour before my left because of spatial audio. But I only mention spatial audio because of what I was just saying. If we're talking about peaking and we're talking about spatial audio would work tremendously, and I mean tremendously, if you are in a virtual reality world, because you will be able to hear footsteps from somebody behind you, literally behind you, which is the innovation to this technology. So now, if you were to add spatial audio with the virtual reality world, or virtual reality goggles, or like Google came out with Google goggles, something that gives you the ability to maybe go into VR but also take them off and wear them as standard glasses that give you some type of update, right, through the camera, some type of like augmented visuals, right, or like an in-eye display through your goggles. I think that would be ridiculous. I think that would be a drop mic moment for Apple, and that's something that for some reason has been rattling around in my head. Like I just put those pieces together. I'm like, what if Apple really unveils like Apple glasses with virtual reality or augmented reality and built-in spatial audio, so that when you're in there, you're completely immersed. And if anyone is like going to do it, even though it's late to the game, but do it better than everyone else, to me, it could be Apple. So let me know what you guys think. There's so much to digest. Let me know if there was something that you either had a question on, or something in particular that you're hoping for that might come out, for this event. I'm really excited. I don't know what's going to happen, but don't be surprised if next week you hear me about mentioning, and I'm waiting for such and such computer to get over here, because I really think that, like how I say a lot, the stars aligned. I wasn't able to make it to San Diego for the event that I was trying to get to. Excuse me. Maybe just so that I can afford my new computer that I'm most likely gonna get. It's already like, I even made a live stream about it, right? So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what if you guys are interested in anything at all. If you're like hopeful for anything, leave it on there. And you know what? Here's something else. Right now, while we're putting in questions, if you're still there, right? Let me know where you're located at. This is something that I've always been trying to mention through the live stream. If you're not interested and you have nothing else to say, also just let me know where you're watching from, because I'm trying to get more in contact and more familiar to the time zones where, the Camera Junkie crew is actually checking in from. Now, while I'm waiting for you guys to populate the chat here, I'm going to go into another section of the show, Cities Gaw, right? Channels that I think you should go and watch. So this week's Cities Gaw, if you're part of my Discord community, you would have seen that already. But today we're going to be talking about Senor Rene Ritchie, because Rene Ritchie is probably the man when it comes to, let's see. Oh no, I clicked the wrong thing. Give me 1 second here. Yeah, let me know. Yeah. What I just did, believe it or not, is I clicked Ecamm again. So even though I was already running it, I was trying to open it again, and it's like, hey, stupid, you're already running this joint. I'm like, yep, you're right. But it was my mistake. Okay. Let me see. I'm looking for this one, right? There we go. Boom. So Rene Ritchie. Rene Ritchie is, believe it or not, a content creator that I found, right? And I was made aware of Rene Ritchie the same exact day that I was made aware of Doc Rock. They were both on a live stream with Luria Petrucci. They were having a conversation, and that's when I first heard Doc Rock, and I was like, yo, Doc is cool, let me follow this dude. Hey, Rene is cool, let me follow this dude. And wow, super amazed. That conversation was almost at the beginning of Rene Ritchie leaving his prior employers and starting his channel, and from that time to now, this dude is just something else. He's amassed 300,000 subscribers in a very, very short time. I can't even tell you, this dude is amazing. The amount of information that I get. What is going on? Okay, that was strange. Okay, the amount of information that this dude pumps out every week is amazing. This guy is a machine, and he puts out video after video. I could tell you the truth, pretty much all the information that I gave you was almost regurgitated from his channel, because whenever a video comes out, even if I'm not physically watching it, I have to put the earbuds in and watch it. This dude is an OG when it comes to the Apple, the history of Apple. Pretty much, this dude's been writing about Apple computers before the iPhone. This, he's a really, really good content creator. Doc approved, so to speak, you know, and I have to second that. If you haven't checked him out, it looks like some of you are already familiar with his channel. He's an amazing content creator, really cool guy too, you know, very down to earth, but the dude is a genius, man. The guy is like something else when it comes to this. Oh, Peter Gregg, thank you, sir, for buying me some coffees. I appreciate that so much. What is going on here? All right, let me go back to the main camera. Okay, there we go. I think I'm psyching myself out because I'm seeing it twice, just in the fact that I have Rene Ritchie up as a screen, but then I'm seeing him on the screen on Ecamm as well. So okay, so let's see where we left off with the chat. Okay, so Marga showed up. What's up, Marga? Latina Stream Queens. Just to show you. This is Marga's computer. Computer, listen to me. Oh my God. I'm talking computers this entire time and just... This is Marga's camera. This is her A5100. I was fortunate enough to be able to help her out in fixing her HDMI port. Once the HDMI port is fixed, I realized how pimp this little camera is, and now I'm trying to see if we're in the process of me purchasing this camera off of her, and I'm probably going to be having it right here as my overhead cam. Why don't I have it as the overhead cam right now? Because the deal is not done, and I don't want to like fall in love with the camera and then have to like give it away. So I'm trying to reserve my feelings for it. It's a pimp little camera. Once I got it in my hands, I'm like, this camera does so much more than I expected it to do. That, like, how could I? Let me just give you one example. This camera has touch to focus. That it has a touch screen on it. Being how old this camera is, and it has touch to focus in video. Just once again, Sony was so ahead of the game with their cameras, man. I digress. But she's in the house saying hello to everyone. Everyone's saying hello to her. Paul saying hi, Marga. Randall saying Mac Mini Pro Studio or iMac 27. Okay, so that's what Randall's like. Yeah, the Mac Mini Pro, the Studio Edition. Oh, let's see what they're gonna come out with. I'm so excited. My mind's going crazy of the possibilities. I'm trying to rein it in to see like what is actually more probable. I think the highest probability is what I want, which is a Mac Mini Pro with the Pro chip, right? Pro chip, 32 gigs of RAM. Just really hook that little thing up and have it as my go-to. Something else, just throwing it out there, the same way that you can daisy chain through Thunderbolt 4 ports, right? These computers, I wouldn't be surprised if pretty soon we'll be able to daisy chain a couple of these Mac Minis together, and maybe through compressor be able to use them as like a single unit for like rendering big files, so on and so forth. That's the same way that I see it. The same way that you can modularly like stack these chips inside of the chassis themselves, there might be a way to actually stack the computers on top of each other to like literally stack performance. Paul says he's looking forward to the new Mac Mini. So many people are. Marga says, I love the 2020 SE. Well, you might like the new one too. I feel weird waiting to what's to come on Tuesday. I hope I get an Apple branded monitor. Dude, you know what? That's another thing. I didn't even think about that. That it could be that as well. You know, you just You just kind of like blew my mind. What if they meant peak and it's mostly based on their HDR displays, right? Maybe they'll come out with something more affordable instead of like a $6,000 monitor. Okay, Randall says, okay, it's rant time. The new iPhone SE camera like the Sony A7S III. Yeah, no, not like that. It would be upgraded on the SE, but not even to like the iPhone 13 caliber. It would be just better than what was on their latest version, which was already outdated when they made that model. Because the iPhone 8's camera is honestly from 2017. There was so many innovations that they come up with, prior to that. Because in all sincerity, if you were to take the iPhone 8, right, leave it as is, or hypothetically the iPhone SE 2020, take the chip and upgrade it, and then the same way that you would do that, you would upgrade the camera to something like the iPhone XR, right? That would be night and day. Such a dramatic difference, an improved dramatic difference in the picture quality that you'd be able to get. First, because that camera physically is so much better than the one that it has on there now, and then second would be that the newest processor is going to have the ability to do all of that computational photography, all the processing in the background, and to be able to produce the best image, as your result. Because everything that you hear of, that deep fusion, low light mode, dark modes and all that stuff that you're able to do on these latest versions of iPhone, have more to do with the computation side than it does, the physical lens size. Because even though they've gotten bigger, it's not like dramatically different. We're still talking about very small cameras. Sammy says, I have the iPhone SE 2020 and I like it. LOL, still used to the old style. Yeah, and that fact that you can use the phone with one hand, it's important, It is. And Paul says, yes, do not forget to hit that like button. So make sure, if you haven't done it already, hit that like button. It goes a long way. Nano is in the house. What's up, bro? How are you doing today? And Sly is here. How you doing, Sly? It's been such a long time I haven't been able to talk and chat with you live, so I'm really glad that you were able to make it. If you've been catching any of my replays, I've been trying to keep them down to like an hour, which we've just reached that mark. So, we're running through it now, but a pleasure to have you here as always. Okay, let's see what she says. I don't want to throw off your train of thought, but before you sign off, I need your expertise on cables. Okay, if you have a question, now that we're done talking about that, put it in there and make sure that you got a queue so that I check it before we leave. Paul says, room for ports. Yeah, I think both on the iMac and on the Mac Mini, removing some I/O is going to leave the availability for more I/O, right? Especially when you're talking about, if they go from horizontal to vertical on the USB-Cs, the Thunderbolt 4 ports, hells yeah, you could definitely get so much more. Okay, Snazzy Labs YouTube guy put the M1 Mac Mini into a smaller chassis and it did not overheat. Performance was the same. I think I saw that video. Yeah, you know what, talking about that. And he kept it completely fanless, and he even replaced, he replaced the entire power supply that was giving it 12 volts power, and changed it to a MagSafe charger. That was a really interesting video. I also saw another video from Luke Miani. Luke Miani, where he basically disassembled a Mac Mini M1 and he took this iMac here, right? That one right there, the all-in-one, and he gutted it out, only left the screen in it, and then used a converter kit to create it into basically a HDMI display. So he had an Apple display HDMI. Then he used that same connection inside because everything was gutted and connected it to the gutted Mac Mini, booted it up, and now he had an M1 or an iMac M1 before they actually made the official one. So yeah, a lot of things like that. Talking about that, Doc Rock, if you watch this, it's on you, bro. Okay, I've had an idea to actually put an M1 Mac Mini into the I forgot. I think it was called the G4 iMac. You know, the first flat screen iMac that had the swivel display and the little bubble lamp kind of base. So yeah, I want to do a project. Excuse me. Whew. Apologies. I want to do a project like that for Doc Rock. He has the computer. We'll get an M1 and we'll throw it on there. Be good to go. This says it for itself, right? We have to have warnings on it. Gil is in the house. How you doing, bro? Says just got back from dinner. Hi, Lewis and all. How are you doing? Aiden is sleeping, Peter, just to let you know. Peter was saying hello here. Aiden's been sleepy, so it's been a smooth stream. Says maybe an Apple camera. That would be interesting. That would be extremely interesting if I don't even know. I think it would be super easy, right? Now let me know what you guys think on this. Apple puts an iPhone, or basically the camera app on the iPhone with all its computational photography, all of the things, plus a manual mode where you have complete control, and let that just be the app that runs inside of basically any camera. Imagine like an iPhone with a handle and an E-mount. The memory is built in. You can record video without memory cards. Airdrop all your footage to your laptop. That would be sick, bro. Just have it there. Just, oh yeah, I sat my phone on top of my laptop and it's transferring the data. That would be cool. Richard says, I think spatial audio sounds better than the Airpods Pro versus the 3rd generation. I would have to agree a little bit. The sound that I get off of the AirPods 3, man, they sound great. And my nephew has the AirPods Pro, so we were kind of like just testing it. And he uses the Pros every day. So, you know, like mine would be biased. So I just gave him my headphones, had him try them out. He was like, whoa, these things sound great. So it goes to show you the sound quality that's coming from the Generation 3 AirPods is great. The one thing about the spatial audio is like depending on how you're listening to it, right? And something as simple as just facing forward and having a television off to the side, or the source, you know, off to the side, will substantially make the difference in the draining of the battery. He says, I think you're onto something. No, I know I've already been using them for a month. I'm gonna make a video for my other channel because AirPods really has nothing to do with CameraJunkie stuff, right? So I'm making a video about my experience with them over 30 days of using them. They're not perfect, you know. I'm just gonna tell you that they're not perfect. One of the weirdest things that I had happen was, because it has the ability to jump to all of your devices, I don't know if it's just me that I have a variety of Apple devices. So whether it's the video back there that stopped playing. Why did it stop playing? Let me check that. So whether it's the video back there that's playing right on that computer, that's got connected my iTunes account. This has my iTunes account. My phone has my iTunes account. Everything has my iTunes account. So I had my headphones, I had the Airpods on, and when I put them on, my left ear connected to the computer and what I was watching in front of me, and then my right ear connected to that computer and what I was playing for Aiden. And I was listening to both things, and I was like, yo, that was the weirdest experience, because I was like, what's going on? And it literally, like, one side connected to each device. Very, very interesting. It says, I hope you're right. Okay, so Gil's in Deerfield. Oh, now we're getting the locations. Okay, Boston. You see, I had no idea. Nano's in Boston. Richard's in Alberta, Canada. But now in Maryland for I'm guessing 2 months, maybe 2 days. And then we started talking about Renee, saying he's legend. Oh, 2 weeks, says Richard, for 2 weeks. Cool. San Antonio, Texas is where Randall's at. And Mr. Paul Duncan, the master moderators, they're putting Renee Ritchie's channel in the chat. Thank you very much, sir. And Nano's also saying Renee Ritchie's an OG. Mr. Duncan is in the San Francisco Bay Area. So Sly's in Tulsa. Says Central Time Zone. Says my Sony child. Richard saying hello to Marga. The new super mini computer, right? Now, this is another thing, talking about that. Imagine they come out with the new Mac Pro, right? Which is the big cheese grater one. But then they make it small because they're able to shrink these devices so small. So you have a master computer, mega desktop, shrunken. Is that not called the Mac Mini? And that's where, like, people thought that Apple messed us up with the MacBook Pro or the MacBook Pro Max. Nah. Imagine they come out with the Mac Mini Pro and the Mac Pro Mini. Right there, I'll be like, eh? Nah, I quit right there. Like, let's see if it comes out. The Mac Mini Pro, which would be the Mac Mini, right? The small chassis Pro version. But then you're going to have the Mac Pro, which is the big version, Mini, because it's going to be so small. We're going to have fun with those. Let's see. It says, I love my ZV-1, small, mighty, powerful beast, camera for size. There goes my verdict. It says, the new iPhone SE, what worries me is the battery life because it's going to add 5G. I'm still rocking the iPhone XR. I had mentioned that. Look. Let me just show you this right here. Boom. So Nano, check this one out. This right here. Oh, let's get it in the light. NPF50. No, NPFW50 batteries. These are the very, very, very small batteries that come Sony cameras like this one. So this little 5100, right, is not the best at battery life. There's things that you can do through the settings, like, you know, make sure that it goes into standby mode after 10 seconds instead of 2 minutes. You know, a couple of things like that, but the thing is that the batteries being so small, just to keep such a small footprint in such a tiny little camera, they don't hold a lot of battery, which is the same thing that you would be hypothetically saying about the iPhone 7, 8, and SE. My camera here, my A6100 that I have here and that I have here, right over here, right? These A6100s use this same exact battery, the NPFW50 battery. Yet, these cameras, without being on a 10-second standby, having so many more features, having so many more record modes and everything like that, better autofocus, face tracking, the whole thing. And these things will make the most out of these batteries because of the processor that's built into it. The processor uses less electricity, less energy to produce even more results. It's optimized, and now it makes the most out of these batteries, giving these batteries a CPR rating of over 400 shots on all of their cameras, when that was something that was not even available on their earlier versions with these same batteries. So where you can get over 400 shots with the A6100, if you were to put the same battery on the A6000, you will not get the same amount of shots, because that camera is, and the processor is not designed to optimize the energy that it's given. That's where I think the iPhone SE with the new A15 Bionic and these nanometer processors going from 5 to 4 nanometers, so on and so forth, that makes all the difference in the world when it comes to battery consumption. The A1 chips themselves don't consume more than about 25 watts of power. So if that's what we're looking at, where is the music? Okay, there we go. Much better. I'm still not used to the music, so I was trying to find the song so that I can skip it, but I continue. That's where I think that like these M1 processors, even though they can outproduce the Intel predecessors, they do it consuming so much more less watts in power. That is where I think Apple is throwing all of their lines. So even though that their batteries physically aren't bigger, the phone itself should maximize the usage of the battery that much better, because it's that much more efficient. And that's what we all hope, right? Gil said that's a dope idea. I agree, bro. I don't remember which one we were talking about, but thanks. It said someone did that with an old swivel iMac from the M1 Mac Mini. Oh, I guess so. They was talking about putting the M1 into the older chassis. Yeah, because what you're able to do now is literally take any LCD panel, figure out what connector it's using, and create a, you can buy them on eBay or Amazon, these chips that will plug right into it, and then you plug in power and it gives you that screen as an HDMI acceptable like display. And it is so amazing, you know, where we've reached with technology, that that's available, that you're able to do that on any of the older screens, including these chassis on this one, or like the G4 iMac, so on and so forth. What is the difference between USB-C cables? Okay, hold on. I didn't see the first one. So Slides got her questions here. I'm changing all of my gear over to action cameras and found out that each like a different USB-C cable, i.e. Osmo Action. You have to buy an adapter and you can't just plug in the USB-C mic. Part 1. What is the difference between USB-C cables? Okay. Well, if I'm understanding this correctly, you're saying that you're switching over all of your cameras to like the Osmos and action cameras for your workflow. It says you have to buy an adapter. You can't just plug in a USB-C mic. That's very interesting. There shouldn't be too much of a difference. There should be a difference in cables, But the way that you've like put the question, right? So look, let me just pop that up here again. Just as it says, I'm changing over all my gear to action cameras and found out that each like a different USB-C cable. Like they all like their own individual. I.e. Osmo Action, you have to buy an adapter. You can't just plug in a USB-C mic. What's the difference between USB-C cables? Okay, I would have to do a little bit more research, but what it looks like is that there is a difference between a USB-C mic and a USB-C adapter. So, let me see if I have something here to demonstrate. Okay. Here's a microphone, right? Like a little shotgun on camera microphone. This little guy has power provided, so I have to have a battery, and when I click it, it's going to turn it on there. You can see it's going to go to 0 decibels, or if I'm, shy and I don't speak too loud, which I'm not, I'm Puerto Rican, you can put it to plus 10 decibels to get an even bigger boost of audio. This now can be plugged in directly to it because it's providing its own power. So if I understand correctly, most likely this and things that are similar like this, things that would just use plug-in power or their own source, you would be able to utilize the adapter and get this to work with your Osmo Action. What I'm thinking is that if you have a USB-C microphone, it is going to require a different level of power, more than just a plug-in power, to be able to juice up the microphone, power all the electronics to do the computing, and then also produce the signal through the same cable. And I don't think that the Osmo Action has enough juice in it for a fully USB-C microphone. So I think that's the issue that you're having, because the other microphones with, like an adapter, it's gonna receive the signal that is gonna be given through the Osmo Action, and then convert it to the recorder, comparative to actually requiring the Osmo Action camera to produce the power that it needs to then receive a signal. The other way that had me confused just a bit, what happened to the music? Oh, we're gonna start this all over again. There we go. And we're gonna let it roll. The other thing that had me a little confused was that you said that it looks like they just like their own USB cables. The USB-C cables, if you're gonna purchase something through Amazon or anything like that, make sure you put like the abbreviation PD or power delivery. Those are usually the best types of cable. Not only can they provide data, but they also have they're designed to produce power as well, as far as being USB-C to USB-C. 9 times out of 10, a PD cable will exceed all of your requirements for USB-C. There are some USB-C cables that are not, graded to like Thunderbolt 4 specs, so to speak, and even though they have the same physical connections, do not have the ability to PD or provide power, direct power. So if they can't do power delivery PD through the cable, then it's only going to be data driven, and that could be one of the issues that you're dealing with. So if it's that the cables themselves are particular, the way that I see it is that, hypothetically, let's say you had an Osmo Action and a Hero and a oh my god, forgot the name of it, GoPro. So you have a DJI Action and a GoPro Hero. So they're two different cameras. The way that it seems is like you're saying, like this USB-C cable works with the Osmo, but doesn't work with the GoPro, and that the GoPro cable works with the GoPro, but not with the Osmo, even though that they're all USB-Cs. The way that I see it is that most likely if the Osmo had a cheaper USB cable and the better one was from the GoPro, I would feel that the GoPro cable will connect fine with the GoPro and then also connect perfectly fine with the DJI because it's a better cable, and that you would most likely have an issue with the previous cable on both the DJI and the GoPro. Hopefully I articulated that well. I will look at it again in replay and I'll be like, I totally butchered it, but hopefully I was able to get that out correctly. So I would definitely check the cables first, right? But if you're going to buy something, look for PD, power delivery cables. Those are going to be like your best bet for all around quality. They should exceed all of your needs so that whatever it is that you're going to plug it into, you should have it work correctly. Airdrop on a phone, right? That's what he says, like, airdrop, that's all I need. Well, you see, that's the whole thing. I think, let me know what you think, Gil, right? Let me know what you think on this one. If I were Apple, I would probably just figure out how I could implement AirDrop technology to another company and just sell them the rights to use AirDrop on their cameras already, to give it the easiest way to transfer images from your camera to your phone, from your camera to your iPad, from your camera directly to your computer. No cables, AirDrop it, bloop. That you got, yo, take my money. take my money. Yo. How is it? No, this one. Absolutely take my money. You give me a Sony camera that, cuz here, let's go to show you, right? Marga, your camera is making a cameo today for real, right? Okay. This is an older camera here, right? Right? This is an A5100. Can you remember? I think came out 2014. I'm going to go into the menus. And let's see if we can see this. There we go. Application list. Sony has been using applications on their cameras for years already. They kind of stopped, right? But imagine if you were Apple and you would just give the application AirDrop that you're able to purchase off of your store and apply that to your Sony camera. That will give you all the functionality of AirDrop, and just AirDrop onto your camera directly to your phone. An app. That way, if you're Apple, you don't have to come up with a camera. And you have the potential to sell the rights to your app on every camera that comes out in the future. Man, I just thought of that right now and I'm like, that is sick. That is an amazing idea. Hey, Apple, reach out to me if you want, create a session, a mind session of what you guys should do. She said, sell that idea to Apple, Lewis. That's what we're having this conversation together, right? Oh, she's bouncing, saying good night. Good night, Marga. I'll talk to you later. You see, a Sony and Apple camera, but you see, it doesn't even have to be a camera. It literally could just be an app. And I just thought of that, man. It just has to be an app. And these cameras have Wi-Fi. They have Bluetooth because they have the NFC. Oh, man. Thanks, Peter. Okay, so everyone's saying goodnight to Marga. Kippy is in the house. How you doing, Kippy? Thank you for stopping by. I have not had the ability to check out your latest video or videos, because usually you've been dropping like one a month and stuff like that, and I think you did 2 in 2 weeks. So big ups to you, sir, for the consistency. But I know that I have to stop by your channel to check out your latest works. Okay, so Slice says, LOL, you got really close and got me on the right track. I didn't see some cables with abbreviations. I didn't know what they meant so far. Bought 6 mics and found that only one works on the camera. So yeah, that's what you have to think about. Most likely the microphone that works on the camera does not require power delivery. So it's literally just gonna like pump out everything as a dynamic microphone, and because of it, just that adapter is able to, you know, the camera is able to receive it because it's all incoming and it's not asking to provide anything. And these small cameras, I'm not too familiar with them, but I really doubt that they're gonna like dedicate power of that small little battery to like shoot, you know, power to an external microphone. Says thanks for the direction. I got to do some research. My pleasure. I'm always extremely happy to help. Wow, we ran a half an hour over today. We're at the bottom of this list. Guys, thank you as always for hanging out with me. This is my favorite part of the week, the Camera Junkie live stream. Next week is week 67. We're gonna see what I end up doing right after this event, what steps I take to see what I'm gonna do as far as my new setup. Because in all sincerity, what's up, John? Sneaking in just right when we're closing up shop, but thanks for stopping by. This is the whole thing. If nothing right sparks for me after this event, most likely what I'm gonna do is I'm probably gonna replace this MacBook, right? So if none of these things that we're speculating comes out, if I don't get a Mac Mini Pro and so on and so forth, and they just come out with lackluster things waiting for the next event, which is a possibility, this is all hypothetical here, I am most likely not going to wait, and I'm probably going to do the conversion from my photography machine here, which is one of the last ones to have the SD card, and get a new Pro version of the MacBook Pro. Then those would be my 2 machines, and then I'll figure out what I do with this bad boy here. I'll probably sell it to offset some of the cost. But I'm really excited for this Tuesday to see what's gonna end up happening. It is at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is 1 p.m. on the East Coast. I was so happy for that. I don't have to wake up early at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to see what Apple is gonna provide. I have a little time to put my put my ducks in a row, right? And that way I'll have everything set to see what actions I'm going to take come this following week. But as always, thank you for hanging out with me and spending the time at the Camera Junkie live stream. Come back next week because we're going to be doing it all over again. Same bad place, same bad channel right here. The Camera Junkie live stream, episode number 67 next week of consecutive weeks without fail. And like I always say, I don't see this train stopping anytime soon. So as always, thank you for hanging out. Have a great week, and I will see you all here next time. Take care of yourselves.